in regards to, first of all, thank you, Audio Object Baxter, for re-upping your membership. I appreciate that. So in regards to the react to This Is How You Don't Play Metal Gear Solid 2, there was a lot of drama around it for multiple reasons. First of all, because it was the first time I was ever going to majorly publicly address a This Is How You Don't Play About Me, ever. All over the years, 10 years, these things have been coming out, right? And although I've said things like, oh, anyone who watches them is a jerk, and you're stealing my content, and a lot of negative backlash, well, I should say a negative lashing out from me towards them and anyone who watches them, but also negative backlash on the internet against me for the way that I basically responded to them. You know what I'm saying? So I get that. I get that now. I didn't get that back then. I explained all this, of course, in my react, but this was the first time that I was ever going to formally address this kind of thing publicly and actually watching it back to see what was said in it. Because I've seen excerpts and I've seen clips from them, but I never actually just sat there and watched one in its entirety. Okay? Well, the drama surrounding this was that at the last minute, literally just a couple days before I was going to do the marathon yesterday, the original creator of this video, Evil AJ, decided to private the videos. Now, of course, there's all kinds of speculation on the internet why he did it. Some people said he did it because he was threatened legally by someone or that he would get takedown notices. Bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit.
That he doesn't just magically do it 2 days before the marathon event, but leave up all the other content he's taken from me over the years. If he was being threatened, he would have just privated his whole channel to avoid that issue. So that's complete bullshit, okay? He literally never wanted to publicly say why he did it. Oh, I have many reasons, but then he doesn't say the reasons, okay? Here's the reason. Evil AJ is an attention-seeking fucking, loser. He always was. He was someone who was so butthurt at me because I blocked him from talking in my video comments many, many years ago, over a decade ago, that he took it upon himself to obsess over this so badly, he made the first This Is How You Don't Play. So here we are 10 years later. This guy has stalked me over the years, tried to hunt me down in ranked matches and all kinds of shit in Street Fighter games, then lagging up his connection to cheat and get cheesy wins, and then actually upload montages of him beating me in Street Fighter. He literally just the other day says on Twitter, Phil still won't admit that I'm better than him in Street Fighter. What? What are you talking about? Like, what? Oh my God. If you want to talk about someone who has a disconnect from fucking reality, dude, okay, you beat me in a handful of matches online with laggy connections in imperfect ports of Super Turbo over the years, cheating to win. You're not better than me at Street Fighter, you fucking idiot. Oh my God. Can't block. The sad fact is he's actually serious. He actually, in his little mind, believes that he's serious, that he's better than me. I mean, anyway. That being said, to get attention once again, trying to get attention off of me, he tried to privatize his video of This Is How You Don't Play Metal Gear Solid 2. Of course, didn't do anything because a million people who don't like him all gave me ridiculous amounts of links to it all over the internet. And so the project went forward as planned. Keep in mind, I was completely protected by fair use law, excuse me, as well as him giving me permission to react to the video months prior, but he was such a fucking idiot, he had forgotten all about that, okay? Anyway, it went well, all right? It definitely went well. We enjoyed watching it together, and if anything, I had a few insights from reacting to this video, okay? Insight number one. I can totally understand why maybe someone who didn't understand my shtick from back in the day thought that this was me totally being disrespectful to the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
Yeah!
Because back then, the way I played games was literally rush through them as fast as you could, get that playthrough done, upload it to the internet, move on to the next game. I never took the time, all right, never, to learn proper game mechanics, to immerse myself in a game world, all right? If there was a game that usually had a ton of side content or interesting stuff, I would skip it, okay? I was the guy who was known that I would buy a game at launch, all right? Play through it as quickly as possible, upload the playthrough to the internet, get to the next game. So if you're watching me play Metal Gear Solid 2, and I'm literally ignoring what the game's telling me to do, I'm not learning the mechanics of sneaking. I'm not learning the difference between shooting in third person and first person. I'm so dumb for not paying attention and trying to rush through the game, right? I can understand how this is so frustrating. You can even find it as kind of disrespectful to the game, especially when I'm saying things like, oh, this game is shitty, the controls are bad, and really the gameplay isn't anything special and stuff like that. But again, that was my shtick back in the day. My shtick was rush through the game, okay, beat it as quick as possible, and kind of brush everything off. Never admit fault. Make fun of the game developers. Again, this was a running thing in all my videos back then, to make fun of the game developers. No game developer was safe. I would make fun of them all, okay? And people liked it. Seriously, people really enjoyed it. That was something that was a running thing. That, okay, that's, if we go to Dark Side Phil's channel, we're going to find a guy who basically is kind of narcissistic, acts like his shit doesn't stink, even though it's obvious just by watching 5 minutes of his gameplay that he's making tons of mistakes, but he'll never admit it. He just wants to pretend like it's the game. And, people had a good laugh at that. That's why I was popular back in the day. But it was only when I played Metal Gear Solid 2 that all of a sudden people didn't get the joke. Literally, any other playthrough I'd done before then was fine. But the moment I played Metal Gear, oh my God, it was like that was the end-all be-all. You ruined everything on the internet, okay? So basically, this is how you don't play is a good highlight of that kind of style of gameplay that I did back then. But interestingly enough, as I'm going back and watching through my own playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 2, something very interesting and apparent happens, okay? I actually realized to myself that even for me, all right, at one point, that style of content wears itself thin and basically like overstays its welcome. And what I mean by that is there was a point we were like maybe 3/4 through This Is How You Don't Play, and I'm like, I just realized something. If I were watching this playthrough of mine, I would stop watching it right now, because you understand that the person is never going to learn the game mechanics. The person is never going to give any effort to understand the story. This person is literally playing the game just to finish it.
Far from the bright lights of Las Vegas or New York City.
Now, do I think that it should have gone to the point where everyone wants to destroy me and my history as a content creator and my business in general and my private life and my existence on this planet? No, that's going a little overboard. And that's literally what ended up happening over the course of 10 years afterward is when this movement against me started, it was, okay, Dark Side Phil is very popular on YouTube, but does he really deserve it? His playthroughs aren't great. Are they funny? Yes, but some can argue it's funny for all the wrong reasons. He doesn't try, he doesn't research, there's no effort put into it, and even though he does beat the majority of games he plays, they're not entertaining if you actually like the games. If you want to see someone flub through a game and swear like a sailor, there you go. But outside of that, where's the entertainment factor? There's so many other people putting out playthroughs out there of higher quality, you should pay attention to them instead of him. And if people kept it at that might have been all right. But here's what happened. I reacted negatively to This Is How You Don't Play. I ended up raging against anyone who made them as well as watched them, saying things such as, if you watch This Is How You Don't Play, you're stealing from me. Okay? Why did I say those things? Because back in the day, technically that was true. Back in the day, things were a lot different. There was no other way to monetize your content. I wasn't an interactive live streamer. I didn't depend on crowdfunding during streams to make a living. Instead, it was all dependent on, hey, what kind of ad revenue am I making on this today? And if someone's watching my content elsewhere because they ripped it off my channel without my permission and edited it into their own This Is How You Don't Play product, and if people are only watching my content over there and not on my own channel, I'm not making money on my own content anymore because someone stole it, okay? So 10 years ago, this was a very different situation. Today, oh my God, has the internet and everything changed? Now you can't even make a living on ad revenue if you wanted to on YouTube. You've got to be diversifying your content in other ways and monetizing things in other ways to do this for a living, okay? Today, it doesn't matter if someone makes a negative montage about me because people will still come to the streams and support them no matter what, and that's where my business comes from, you see? But back then, like, this was me seeing it as someone's literally taking food out of my mouth because this should have been my income watching the content on my channel, and instead you're watching it somewhere else, all right? Now, of course, you could argue for and against that argument, you know, transformative work-wise and the like, okay? But I reacted really poorly to that. And what ended up happening was, over the last decade, instead of it just being, okay, Phil's content is kind of hackish, it's funny to watch, but it's definitely not high caliber or highbrow stuff, perhaps you should realize that and diversify what you watch and watch other people who do better quality stuff. That's one thing. But instead it became, how can we actually insult or hurt Phil as much as we possibly can? Including taking it to the extent of DDoSing, swatting, destroying my YouTube channel with false copyright claims and takedowns, slanderously talking about conspiracy theories and things that literally don't fucking exist all over the internet about me, and circle jerking each other to the point where they all believe it when none of it is true. All right? It's gotten to the point where now there's insanely ludicrous, over the top, exaggerated things said about me that literally thousands of people just think it's fact. Well, so many people have said it over the years, it must be true.
Hey, well, I heard this, it's gotta be true.
It's not, but they just believe it because that's where it went. Instead of it just being, all right, let's make fun of Phil's gameplay, it was, let's destroy his life so we can get laughs on the internet. All right? And it just really sucks, okay? It just really sucks because it's a situation where if I waste time, right, addressing shit like that, essentially what ends up happening is it's just a waste of time. You can't, when you get an obsessed group of people like that, this is not just people who don't like the gameplay from the original This Is How You Don't plays, right? When you address that group of people, all you do is give them the attention they want, and then they just go even crazier, right? But from time to time, you at least got to say something about it, right? But, you know, it is what it is. You know, this is where we are 10 years later. But, man, it was interesting to go back and watch this original video and where its roots came from and say, wow, how did that 57-minute video turn into the shit that's out there today? That's just crazy to think about, isn't it? It's also crazy to think about 10 years later, Evil AJ is still obsessing over me, constantly tweeting about me, constantly hate watching my content, constantly can't shut the fuck up and move on with his life. I mean, Jesus effing Christ. You know, the other day I said something on my stream. I said, don't you think that in 10 years of someone would be following this guy on Twitter and look at his Twitter and how messed up it is, that this guy's so obsessed with me, and someone would have reached out to him like a family member or a loved one and said, hey, listen, this is really bad. Like, you need help. You need to move on from this obsession. We don't know what the hell's going on with you, but dude, it's 10 fucking years. Aren't you going to do anything about it to change your life for the better and forget this shit? And actually someone said something to me on the stream that made me feel bad. And they were like, you know, he probably doesn't have anybody like that. You know, he's probably by himself, and therefore he's left to his own devices to do fucked up stuff like this endlessly, and no one's there to tell him, hey, here's something better to do with life. And I was like, damn, you know what? That I could kind of understand that. There was a time in my life when I didn't feel like I had anything going for me. I was depressed. I was fucked up in my head, and I would obsess over dumb shit. Really, like, I've been there. And now I'm in such a better position, and all you could do is hope that people like that eventually will find something better for themselves so they can stop hyper-focusing on this nonsensical bullshit on the internet, right?